Good communication isn't about talking more, it's about connecting better. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room, but about being the clearest, the most intentional, and the most present. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. But when you listen first, really listen, you create space for meaningful conversations. The best communicators make others feel heard before they ever say a word. Big words and fancy jargon don't make you sound smart, they create distance. True intelligence is taking complex ideas and making them simple. When you speak with clarity, you make it easier for people to trust and follow you. Your body language, eye contact, and tone of voice often say more than your words ever could. When you align your body with your message, you become more persuasive, more trustworthy, and more engaging. Most people rush to fill silence, afraid that pauses make them look unsure. But the best communicators use silence as a tool. A well-placed pause adds weight to your words and keeps your audience engaged. Great communication isn't about proving a point, it's about learning something new. Asking thoughtful questions makes others feel valued, deepens connections, and leads to richer conversations. You don't speak to a child the same way you speak to a CEO. The best communicators adapt. They know their audience, understand what matters to them, and adjust their message accordingly. If you can say something in 10 words instead of 20, do it. Long-winded explanations lose people. Keep it concise, make it memorable, and leave your audience wanting more. Nobody connects with perfection, they connect with real. Speak with honesty, share personal stories, and don't be afraid to show vulnerability. People don't follow flawless speakers, they follow authentic leaders. Great communicators aren't born, they're made. Every speech, every conversation, every interaction is a chance to improve. Rehearse, refine, and keep showing up. Over time, you won't just be a better speaker, you'll be a better leader. Most people believe that great communication starts with speaking, but in reality, it begins with listening. Listening is not just about hearing words, it's about making the other person feel understood, valued, and respected. Too often, people enter conversations with the intent to reply rather than the intent to understand. They wait for their turn to speak rather than truly absorbing what is being said. This is where communication breaks down not because of a lack of words, but because of a lack of connection. Imagine sitting in a meeting, sharing an idea you've been working on for weeks, only to see someone nodding absentmindedly while checking their phone. They might technically hear you, but they are not listening. And you can feel it. That lack of attention sends a clear message. What you're saying isn't important. Now imagine a different scenario. Someone makes eye contact, leans in slightly, and asks a thoughtful follow-up question. In that moment, you feel heard, and as a result, you feel valued. The best communicators understand that their words will never be as impactful as the way they make others feel. And the simplest way to make someone feel valued is to listen, truly listen before speaking. This isn't just about waiting for them to finish, it's about being fully present, about absorbing their words, about understanding the emotions behind them. When you listen first and speak last, you create an environment where trust can thrive. Think about the people in your life whom you respect the most. Chances are they don't just talk at you, they engage with you. They make you feel like your thoughts and opinions matter. They don't interrupt or dismiss. Instead, they listen with curiosity. They seek to understand before they seek to be understood. And because of that, when they finally do speak, their words carry more weight. Great leaders do this instinctively. Whether it's a CEO leading a company, a coach motivating a team, or a teacher inspiring a classroom, the best communicators know that their ability to lead is directly tied to their ability to listen. They don't dominate conversations, they guide them. They ask more questions than they give answers. They create space for others to contribute, making everyone feel like part of the conversation rather than just an audience. Listening is not a passive act, it's an active skill that requires discipline. It means silencing the voice in your head that's already preparing a response while the other person is still speaking. It means resisting the urge to jump in with advice when someone just needs to be heard. It means holding eye contact, nodding, and responding in a way that acknowledges their perspective before sharing your own. This doesn't mean you shouldn't speak. It simply means that when you do, it should be in response to what was actually said, not just what you assumed or wanted to hear. When people feel truly heard, they naturally become more open to listening in return. This is how great conversations are built, not through monologues, but through meaningful exchanges. We often think of communication as a tool to persuade or influence, but the truth is, the most influential people are not those who talk the most, they're the ones who make others feel heard. If you've ever been in the presence of someone who makes you feel like you're the only person in the room, you know how powerful that feeling is. That's not an accident. That's intentional. One of the best ways to improve your listening skills is to practice something simple yet incredibly effective: pause before you speak. Instead of jumping in the moment someone stops talking, take a brief moment to reflect on what was said. That tiny pause does two things. First, it shows the other person that you were processing their words, not just waiting for them to stop. Second, it gives you a chance to craft a more thoughtful response rather than a knee-jerk reaction. Another powerful tool is asking follow-up questions. When someone shares something, don't just acknowledge it, build on it. Ask them to elaborate. Show genuine curiosity. Not only does this deepen the conversation, but it also signals that you're invested in what they have to say. People love talking to great listeners because they feel more interesting, more valued, and more connected. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the real power belongs to those who choose to listen. The most impactful communicators aren't necessarily the ones with the loudest voices, the biggest vocabulary, or the most charisma. They're the ones who make others feel seen. They're the ones who listen first, speak last, and make every conversation a meaningful exchange rather than just a transaction of words. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation, resist the urge to jump in with your own thoughts. Instead, lean in, listen, and make the other person feel like they matter, because they do. And when you finally do speak, your words will carry more weight, not because they're louder, but because they come from someone who truly understands. That is the essence of great communication. Clarity is the foundation of great communication. When you speak, the goal isn't to impress people with complex words or technical jargon, it's to make sure they understand. Too often, people believe that using big words makes them sound intelligent. But intelligence isn't about making things complicated. True intelligence is about making complex ideas simple. Think about the most inspiring speeches in history. They weren't filled with long-winded explanations or complicated terminology. They were clear, direct, and easy to understand. When Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream," he didn't complicate his message with unnecessary words. He spoke in a way that made his vision clear to everyone who heard it. When Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, he didn't bombard the audience with technical details. He simply said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." Clarity is what makes people listen. Clarity is what makes messages stick. Yet, so many people struggle with this. They fill their speeches, emails, and conversations with unnecessary fluff, hoping it will make them sound more professional or knowledgeable. But all it does is create confusion. And when people are confused, they stop listening. The best communicators understand that less is more. They strip away everything that isn't essential so that their message is easy to grasp and remember. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that others think the way they do. You might understand your message perfectly, but if you don't communicate it clearly, it won't have the impact you intend. Imagine you're explaining a new idea to a team. If you ramble, jump between topics, or use overly technical language, people will tune out. But if you break it down into simple, digestible parts, they will stay engaged. Clarity isn't just about what you say, it's also about how you say it, your tone, your body language, and your pacing all play a role in how your message is received. If you rush through your words, people won't have time to absorb them. If you mumble or use filler words like too often you lose credibility. And if your body language contradicts your words, people will believe what they see, not what they hear. Communication is more than just words, it's the entire experience of how your message is delivered. The key to clarity is preparation. The best speakers don't just walk into a room and start talking. They take time to think about their message. They ask themselves, what do I want people to remember? What is the simplest way to say this? If you can't explain your idea in a single sentence, chances are you don't fully understand it yourself. The more you refine your message, the more powerful it becomes. Another way to improve clarity is to focus on structure. Great communicators organize their thoughts in a way that makes sense. They don't jump idea on the next randomly. They create a logical flow so that one point naturally leads to the next. This is why stories are so powerful. They have a beginning, middle, and end. They guide the listener through a journey rather than just throwing information at them. Consider how the best TED speakers communicate. They don't just list facts, they tell stories. They paint pictures with their words. And they make sure every sentence adds value to their message. They eliminate anything that doesn't serve a purpose. That's why their speeches are so memorable. It's not about how much they say, it's about how clearly they say it. The same principle applies to everyday conversations. Whether you're explaining something to a friend, leading a meeting, or giving a presentation, clarity should always be your priority. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this the simplest way to say it? Am I using words that everyone in the room can understand? Am I staying focused on the main idea? One of the easiest ways to test your clarity is to see if a child could understand your message. Albert Einstein once said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. The best communicators make their ideas so clear that anyone, regardless of background or expertise, can grasp them. That doesn't mean dumbing things down, it means making them accessible. The world is filled with noise. People are bombarded with information every day, from emails to social media to meetings. If you want your message to stand out, you have to make it easy for people to understand and remember. The clearer your message, the more likely it is to have an impact. So the next time you communicate, simplify. Remove the unnecessary. Focus on the core message. Because the goal of communication isn't to impress, it's to connect. And the clearer you are, the stronger that connection will be. People don't just hear words, they see them. Long before someone processes what you're saying, they're reading your body language, picking up on your facial expressions, and noticing the way you move. Communication isn't just verbal, it's physical. The way you present yourself, the way you hold eye contact, and even the way you stand can either reinforce your message or contradict it entirely. Imagine someone telling you they are excited about a new project, but their arms are crossed, their eyes are darting around the room, and their voice lacks energy. Do you believe them? Probably not. Their words say one thing, but their body says something else. Now picture someone sharing the same message with an open posture, engaged eye contact, and a voice filled with enthusiasm. That's the difference between communication and connection. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Nonverbal cues shape the way people interpret your message. If you slouch, avoid eye contact, or fidget, it can signal nervousness or a lack of confidence, even if your words are strong. If you stand tall, use purposeful gestures, and make eye contact, you command attention. The best communicators understand that their body speaks before their words ever do. Eye contact, for example, is one of the most powerful tools in communication. When you maintain eye contact, you show confidence, credibility, and presence. But too much can feel aggressive, and too little can make you seem unsure or disengaged. The key is balance, looking someone in the eyes long enough to show you're fully present, but not so long that it feels uncomfortable. Gestures also play a critical role. When used naturally, they emphasize key points and add energy to your message. But when overused or forced, they become a distraction. Think about some of the most compelling speakers. You'll notice they don't stand stiff-like, nor do they flail their arms wildly. Their gestures are intentional. They use their hands to reinforce ideas, not to compete with them. Posture is another silent communicator. Standing tall with an open stance signals confidence and authority. Slouching or shifting your weight too much, on the other hand, can make you appear uncertain or disengaged. Great communicators own the space they're in. They don't shrink or fidget, they stand with presence, making their message feel more powerful before they even say a word. Even your facial expressions matter. If your words are serious but your face is neutral, the message loses impact. If you're telling an inspiring story but your expression remains flat, the emotion is lost. Your face should reflect what you're saying. A smile can warm an audience, a raised eyebrow can emphasize a key point, and a thoughtful pause can make a moment more powerful. The face is a storyteller, and great communicators use it to their advantage. Tone of voice is another critical piece of the puzzle. You can say the same sentence in multiple ways, and each one will be interpreted differently. I'm excited about this project can sound inspiring or completely disinterested, depending on your tone. A monotone delivery can make even the most exciting message fall flat, while a dynamic voice keeps people engaged. The best communicators vary their pitch, pace, and volume to create rhythm and impact. Silence is another underestimated tool. People often rush to fill every moment with words, afraid of pauses. But silence, when used well, draws people in. A well-placed pause before a key point creates anticipation. A brief moment of stillness after a powerful statement gives it time to sink in. Silence isn't awkward, it's a tool. And those who use it effectively can hold an audience with just their presence. The most influential communicators understand that words alone aren't enough. They align their body language, gestures, tone, and presence with their message. When these elements work together, communication becomes magnetic. People don't just hear you, they feel you. In any conversation, meeting, or speech, remember that how you show up physically is just as important as what you say. Confidence isn't about saying the right words, it's about embodying them. People believe what they see more than what they hear. So if you want your message to be powerful, make sure your body is speaking the same language as your words. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They feel the need to fill every gap in conversation, afraid that a pause will make them seem unsure or unprepared. But the truth is, silence isn't a weakness, it's a powerful tool. The best communicators know that what you don't say is just as important as what you do. A well-placed pause can add weight to your words, emphasize a key point, and keep your audience engaged. It can create anticipation, allowing people to process what you've just said before you move on. Think about the last time you heard a truly compelling speaker. Chances are they didn't rush through their words. They spoke with rhythm and intention. They knew when to pause, when to let a point land, and when to give their audience a moment to reflect. That's because great communication isn't about speed, it's about impact. And when you pause, you create space for your message to breathe. Pausing is especially powerful in high-stakes conversations. Imagine you're negotiating a deal. If the other person makes an offer and you immediately respond, you might give away too much too soon. But if you take a moment to pause, to think, to let the weight of the conversation settle, you gain control. That pause can make the other person rethink their position, add tension in your favor, or simply show that you are thoughtful and intentional in your response. Silence isn't passive, it's strategic. In everyday conversations, pausing can transform the way people perceive you. When you rush through your words, you can come across as nervous or unsure, but when you take your time, when you allow pauses to exist naturally, you project confidence. You show that you are in control of the conversation, that you are comfortable in your own thoughts. People listen more carefully to someone who speaks with measured intention than to someone who fills every second with sound. Pausing also forces people to listen. If you speak in a constant stream, your words blend together and people start tuning you out. But when you pause, even for a second, you reset their attention. Their minds snap back into focus because something about that silence signals importance. It's why great comedians use timing to make their jokes land, why powerful leaders pause before delivering key messages, and why the best storytellers hold the audience in suspense before revealing what comes next. Many people fear silence because they associate it with awkwardness. They believe that if they don't speak immediately, others will think they don't have an answer. But the opposite is often true. A well-timed pause makes you seem more thoughtful, more composed. It shows that you are considering your words rather than just reacting. And in a world where everyone is rushing to be heard, the person who slows down commands the most respect. Pauses are also a great way to emphasize key points. If you rush through something important, people may miss it. But if you pause right before or right after a crucial idea stands out, it's like highlighting a sentence in a book suddenly. That part becomes more noticeable, more memorable. If you say, "This decision will change everything," and then pause, the weight of that statement sinks in. But if you keep talking, the impact gets lost in the noise. Pausing isn't just about speaking, it's also about listening. When someone finishes speaking, don't rush to respond. Give their words a moment to settle. Show that you are truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk. That small moment of silence can make the other person feel heard, respected, and valued. It signals that their words matter. Many of the greatest moments in history were shaped not just by what was said, but by the pauses in between. When John F. Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," the pause in the middle made the line unforgettable. When Barack Obama spoke about hope and change, his measured pacing gave his words more power. When Winston Churchill inspired a nation, he didn't rush, he let his words land, let them carry weight. If you want to become a more powerful communicator, start by embracing the pause. Slow down, let your words breathe. Trust that silence isn't empty, it's full of meaning. The more intentional you are with your pauses, the more impact your message will have. Because communication isn't just about talking, it's about making people feel something. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with authenticity. In a world where so many people try to appear flawless, the ones who stand out are those who are real. Authentic communication isn't about sounding impressive or saying the right things all the time. It's about speaking from the heart, being honest about what you know and don't know, and having the courage to be yourself in every conversation. When people sense that someone is being real, they naturally trust them. Trust is built when words and actions align, when there's no hidden agenda, and when a person's tone, body language, and message all come from a place of sincerity. You can tell when someone is putting on an act when they're trying too hard to sound smart, funny, or confident. It feels forced, and instead of drawing people in, it pushes them away. But when someone speaks with honesty, even if their words aren't perfect, people listen. Because real always beats rehearsed. Think about the leaders, speakers, and friends who inspire you the most. Chances are they're not the ones who have the smoothest delivery or the most polished words. They're the ones who make you feel something. They're the ones who aren't afraid to share their struggles, admit their mistakes, or speak about their experiences openly. That's because vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. When you have the courage to be real, people see themselves in you. And that's what makes them connect. Authenticity also means speaking with conviction. If you don't believe what you're saying, neither will anyone else. The best communicators don't just say things because they sound good, they speak from a place of deep belief. Whether they're talking about their vision for the future, a lesson they've learned, or a cause they care about, their passion is evident. And passion is contagious. People aren't moved by words alone, they're moved by the energy and conviction behind those words. One of the biggest mistakes people make in communication is trying to be someone they're not. They adjust their personality depending on the audience, thinking they need to act a certain way to be liked or respected. But people can sense when someone is being inauthentic. It creates a disconnect. The most effective communicators don't try to fit into a mold, they lean into who they truly are. They understand that not everyone will agree with them or like them. And that's okay. Because what matters most isn't being liked by everyone, it's being trusted by the right people. Authenticity also means admitting when you don't have all the answers. Many people feel pressure to always appear knowledgeable, but the truth is no one knows everything. The most respected leaders and communicators are the ones who are willing to say, I don't know, or I made a mistake. It takes confidence to admit uncertainty, and people respect honesty more than false confidence. When you acknowledge what you don't know, you show humility. And humility is one of the fastest ways to build trust. Being authentic also means telling your own story. People connect with stories far more than they connect with facts and figures. When you share real experiences, your successes, your failures, your lessons, you create a bridge between yourself and your audience. They see parts of themselves in your journey. They relate to your struggles, they celebrate your victories, and most importantly, they remember your message because it's tied to something real. One of the easiest ways to tell if someone is being authentic is to watch their body language. When someone is speaking from the heart, their words and gestures flow naturally. But when they're trying too hard, their movements feel rehearsed, their words sound scripted, and their tone lacks warmth. Authentic communication isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about showing up fully without pretense and letting people see the real you. Authenticity also means listening as much as you speak. Many people focus so much on delivering their message that they forget communication is a two-way street. But real connection happens when you not only share yourself, but also make space for others. When you listen with genuine curiosity, when you respond thoughtfully instead of just waiting for your turn to speak, you show people that their words matter. And when people feel heard, they trust you more. In today's world, where so much communication is filtered, rehearsed, and edited, authenticity is rare. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. People are drawn to those who are unapologetically themselves. They trust those who speak with honesty, share their true thoughts, and communicate with sincerity. If you want to be a more effective communicator, stop trying to be perfect. Stop worrying about sounding impressive. Instead, focus on being real. Speak from the heart. Share what you truly believe. Admit when you don't know something. Tell your story. Listen as much as you talk. Because at the end of the day, people won't remember every word you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. And the best way to make people feel something is to be completely, undeniably, authentically you.